we talked about dating and spending, and about using the book, How to Get Out of Debt and Live Prosperously. And I had said I was going to do the second version today. Well, I don't want to. I decided I didn't want to. And we can change our minds. And I will tell you, if you have a problem with dating and spending, get the book. It will tell you precisely how to get out of debt and live prosperously. So I just wanted to say, I just had a nudge. I just didn't want to do it. So what we're going to talk about today, because we're living in a world that is different than we've ever lived in, with the pandemic and all. And so what I want to talk about is 3 things that can assure each of us of being happy, having some happiness in our lives, regardless of the season or what's going on. If we're a mind to, we have to want it. If we can be as unhappy as we want to be, but if we really want to be happy, it is possible. There is a possibility regardless of what's happening. There's my friend Charles. He just got on. He's trying to figure it out. There he is. Good morning, Charles. All right, so I want to tell you a little story, and I might have told you before. I don't know. I'm 78, and I'll be 78 Friday, and the memory, they say, is the first to go. But anyway, I remember all the things that I need to, I believe. But anyway, when I was about 10 years old, my mom was a bad alcoholic and drug addict, prescription drug addict, and was sick all of the time. Bless her old heart. And I know she would have done better if she'd ever gotten well, but she didn't. So I had driven her, I was 10, but I had driven her to the doctor's office, which I had many, many times, and usually I'd go in with her and to see the doctor, and for some reason I didn't want to, and I was sitting out in the lobby, and I picked up a magazine called Saturday Evening Post. They don't even have it anymore, the Saturday Evening Post. And I loved it because Norman Rockwell would have a painting on the front. Anyway, it's a wonderful, true to life, magazine back in the 50s. So I was thumbing through there, and I saw an article about how to be happy. The 3 things that we need to be happy. And those 3 things was someone to love, something to do, and something to look forward to. Now, I will tell you, I tore that page out of that magazine, and I took it home with me. And as a 10-year-old, I needed something, and I believe today I believe that God shows up in a lot of different ways, through magazines, billboards, movies, people on the street. That's why we have to be very careful and pay attention and stay conscious, because our messages come in lots of different ways. So that day, that message came through the Saturday Evening Post, and I tore the page out, and I took it home. And as a 10-year-old, when you live in the disease of alcoholism, you grow up really fast. And so I was doing grown-up things by age 10. But anyway, I took that home, and I started looking at it, someone to love. Well, through the year, I loved and adored my mother, and I loved my dad, but my dad was very abusive, sexually abused me until I was 13 years old, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I loved and adored my mother. I treated her like my child. I loved and adored my mother. And on a certain level, she loved me. So that's the first thing, is someone to love. And as I have gotten older, I know that I had already found the God of my understanding at age 8. So I believed in God. And I believed even as a young kid that God is love, and love is God. And when you think about God, God is good, And so I believe that the order to love is God, ourselves, and then others. Now, some people will put others in front of ourselves. And I don't believe we can love anyone, until we can accept God's love for us unconditionally. And when we do that, and begin to love ourselves. And it took me a long time in recovery to get to where I could love and accept myself. You know, at almost 300 pounds, I couldn't hardly comb my hair. I couldn't look in the mirror at myself long enough to hardly comb my hair because I had so much self-loathing. And, you know, 52 years ago, it was October of 68, I had my youngest daughter was a baby, and I started to the fellowship of Al-Anon Family Group. And you know, I've talked about Alice before. Alice, I didn't have a sponsor, and I was real pitiful. I couldn't stop crying. And Alice came up to me. She had moved here from Phoenix, and she came up to me one morning, and she said, "Do you have a sponsor?" And I said, "Well, no." And I was so shy, I could hardly open my mouth. And she said, "Well, you do now." And so Alice started sponsoring me. And she got right off how shy I was. I was so shy. The only time I wasn't is when I was screaming at my kids or cussing out my husband or something for him coming in drunk. But out in public, I could not utter a sound. So she gave me an assignment. We had a mall here. The mall's not even here anymore. It's called Westgate Mall, and she gave me an assignment. She said to start at one end of the mall and walk as you usually walk all the way down to the end. And what I would do, I wouldn't even make eye contact with people because I had so much shame about myself. And she said, "I want you to walk all the way down. Don't look at anybody in the eye. Do what you normally do. And then you get to the end, you turn around and you come back down and you make eye contact with everyone you meet and you smile." And I wanted what Alice had, and I got willing to do that. Well, by the end of the time, I had gone back down and looked at people, and it wasn't easy. It was not easy to do that for somebody so shy. And everyone I looked at and smiled back at me. We pretty much get what we put out in the universe. If we want happiness, let's put it out there. We'll get it back. If we want to be unhappy, let's put that out there. And we can wallow around in that mess and stay in it. And so when I say wallow around, you know, a lot of us have had lots of childhood abuse. And, you know, what we have to do is work on it, and get past it. We are not our abuse. We're much more than that. So anyway, that learning to, to love God, put God first, and then learning to love ourselves. Now, I did not know how to love myself, but little by slow, and then I had another spiritual director and a wonderful woman that was like our spiritual grandmother. I mean, she practically lived at our house. She had many years recovering Alcoholics Anonymous. And what she said, she was a traveling nurse, and it was back before cell phones. And I went to a women's group with her. It was at noon every day. It was for Al-Anon and AA women. That's where I met her. And somehow she said, God put a love in her heart for me. And when she'd go out to these little communities to work, she would get to a pay phone and call and check on me. And it would embarrass me because I would think, what does this woman want from me? And then she would come to my house and knock on the door and just ask me how I was. And I'd never had anybody like that. And I thought there was something wrong with her because she was being so nice to me. But that started a friendship that has lasted many years. And I'm sorry to say that beloved friend of mine and a spiritual advisor has Alzheimer's today. But anyway, Pat, God working through Pat, taught me to love myself. And it wasn't easy. And every sponsor that I've ever had has taught me through their love for me to learn to love myself. But God, ourselves, and then others. And when we love others, it's, we didn't even know about codependency back then, you know. We know today it's codependency. I took hostages. I didn't love people. It was my place to rescue everyone. And it's like, if you needed me, you loved me. Because if you needed me, then I would help you. And then you would love me. And all my caretaking that I ever did, I did with the string attached. Because, yeah, you're going to give me something back if I love you. That is codependency at its max. You know, true love is loving for free and for fun, is loving without any expectations, and to just love, love others. And some, the Bible, it talks about loving, people that are so lovely and kind and sweet. Oh my goodness, they are so easy to love. There's no chore in that. It's the unlovable that are challenging. If you want to practice loving for free and for fun, you get somebody that is not open to loving you or themselves. And just love them anyway. Love them anyway. And in Al-Anon, what I learned, I thought my husband was drinking at me. That it was something that, that maybe I didn't clean the house good enough and I kept a spotless house. And, I always thought that his drinking was at me. I didn't know it was a disease. He didn't know it was a disease. Neither one of us did. And so I kept wanting him to show me love. But I'd be so mean and hateful to him. Why would he want to? But anyway, I learned in Al-Anon to love the person, place, or thing that made me angry. If you really and truly want to learn to love, the 12 steps will teach you how to do that. And it's about loving the person, place, or thing that makes you angry. Now, it doesn't mean we have to stay all grouped up with them all the time, but it's about loving people in spite of themselves. And I remember the day that I had, and I believe it was God working through me. I know it was. My husband had come in the night before, drunk, dirty, stinking, throwing up, all of that. And the next morning, he was so guilty, so guilty. And I was already a counselor, and I was getting ready to go to work at the treatment center in town. And before I walked out, he had gotten up, and I went up to him, and I put my arms around him, and I said, I am so sorry you are sick. And I just want you to know I love you. I love you. And it shocked him to death. And that's all I said. And I'm sorry that you're sick. And, he didn't get sober right away, but he got sober within that year. I had let go before, but I hadn't really let go with love. I really let go of it with love. I put him in God's hands, and I walked away, still stayed in the marriage, but, I just started loving him in spite of his disease. And so that's about love, finding someone to love, God, ourselves, and someone else, and others. And then something to do. Find a work that you enjoy doing. And y'all have all heard this. If you find work that you enjoy or a vocation that you enjoy, you'll never work another day in your life. See, what I do is not work. It's a mission. It's a passion. I love it. And I'm grateful every day that I get to do it. It's not work. It's not, I have to go to work. It is not work. It is a passion. It's a mission. I can't imagine having to get up. I was in Walmart yesterday. By the way, we didn't get lost yesterday, but we did get to go to Walmart to get a few things. And I look at those greeters. Some of them I know are my age, or they look older than I do. I don't know, but they look old, and they are having to work, I guess, to supplement their Social Security. And I am so grateful that I get to, I have a front row seat of miracle watching every single day in the business that we're in. This is not a, we're going to make all this money. It is a mission and a passion and a privilege to get to work with the clients that we get to work with. So find something that you enjoy doing. I'll tell you as a little kid how I framed that at age 10 because, I had my little list and it said something to do. So what I did, and I remember, and how I got this idea, I do not know. We lived in Odessa, far west Texas. It's sandy country, but it will grow anything if you put water to it. So I went around to the little grocery store and I bought me a package of pinto beans. And I planted those, dug rows and planted those pinto beans. Do you know if you plant pinto beans, you grow beans? And I watered those suckers and they grew and they grew and they grew. And about late June, early July, I had me a bean crop. I went back to the store, bought me some little paper sacks, a penny a piece, and I started selling. I'd pick my green beans and go around to the neighbors and sell them, and those little people, bless their hearts, where they wanted the green beans or not, they bought them, I guess, because they, anyway, because I told them I had a garden. So that started my gardening. I did that every year. I'd plant different things. I moved from, green beans to black-eyed peas and, different things. Because in West Texas, like I said, you can grow anything if you put water to it. And then, I was confined to the house with my mother. It was a sad, dark place to live because she wanted the curtains drawn. She wanted me right there with her. I didn't go to school a whole lot. But there was a little lady on the corner, her name was Miss Duncan, and I think she knew what was happening in our house. I don't know, but she was an elderly lady, and she asked me, she said, would you want to come clean my house for me? Well, I knew how to clean the house. Of course, I just open a drawer and break off her stuff because she's kind of messy. I just break it in the drawer. But anyway, I'd go there, sweep and mop, and she'd pay me $2. Well, back then, that was a lot of money. I could buy me more seed to plant. But anyway, what I got from Mrs. Duncan, it wasn't the job. She treated me with dignity, respect, and kindness and love. I loved to go over there. And she was a baker, and of course she fed me, and I was very overweight even then. But she loved me and gave me a job because I guess she knew that I wouldn't just come over there. And so I started cleaning her house once a week for $2. And then there wasn't any kids in the neighborhood. Now, I had a horse named Dolly that Dolly probably saved my life. But anyway, there was one little kid, his name was Johnny Smith. And sometimes I'd slip out of the house. And you don't have to feel sorry for me, but I'll tell you, if you know any kids that have alcoholic parents, particularly an alcoholic mother, those are the kids you need to have feelings for. Do whatever you can for those kids, because it is horrible to live in the disease of alcoholism, particularly if the mother's an alcoholic. You do not need to feel sorry for me as I tell these stories, but anyway, because I've felt sorry enough for myself, but anyway, with Johnny Smith, occasionally I'd slip out of the house and run down. He was younger than me, and I would just bully that little boy, but we would play together, and I'd let him ride Dolly. And I'd let him ride in a circle, and I'd charge him a nickel a circle. But anyway, those were the things that I did. Those were my jobs, that I did to make a little money. I was an entrepreneur even back then. So what I encourage you to do is find something to do. If you don't work, do volunteer work. Get out in your community and find something to do for someone else. If you want to get out of yourself, do something for someone else. And one of the things is, we can't get out and do a lot of volunteer work today, but you could pick up the telephone and check on people, call people, whether they're elderly or not. A lot of people are still shut in, so pick up the phone and call people. My friend Charles there, he calls me, he called me the other morning, and my granddaughter was expecting a baby in January, and she had it Saturday morning, and so I was all caught up, because she was having problems, and then the baby was in distress and all. But my friend Charles called because we like to just chit-chat. We just talk. We, doesn't have to be anything. We just talk and visit. that's what you can do. Reach out and talk to people, check on them, see how they're doing. And then something to look forward to. You know, even in today's time, we can have something to look forward to. Ever since I got that list, I have found me something all of the time to look forward to. It doesn't have to be anything great big. You know, my friend Misty and I, we spend Tuesdays together, all day Tuesday. Sometimes we don't do a lot of shopping. We do, you know, our errands, and sometimes we'll get a picnic and go to the park. Sometimes we'll walk. So, we just spend time together. I encourage you to do that. Find someone that you enjoy spending time with, and do that, you know, or find something to look forward to. When my kids were little, you know, I had 3 babies, 3 under 3 years of age, and 3 teenagers. I had 3 bonus children, so I was busy. Now, sorry to say, I was also deep into my eating disorder. Now, I'm not telling you to do this, particularly if you have an eating disorder, but I would reward myself. One of the things that I would look forward to, I'd work in the house, and then I would allow myself to read 3 or 4 pages in a novel. I've always loved to read, but then I would reward myself with a piece of candy or something. Don't do that if you have an eating disorder, but that's what I did. That's one of the things. You know, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be great big things. Something to look forward to, something that you can put on the calendar. If I put it on my calendar, it's going to make, but we're going to do it. If I don't put it on the calendar, it's a dream. It's just a fantasy. But like my children, my 3 daughters, and by the way, my son took my friend Misty and I to the country club for lunch yesterday. And that's where we spent most of our time. We stayed and visited with him. That was such a joy. But anyway, my birthday's Friday. How many more times am I going to mention that? But anyway, my birthday's Friday, and my 3 daughters came over the other morning, and they don't usually do that unless something's up. I thought, okay, what's going on? What have I done now? You know. But anyway, what they wanted to share with me is that they had planned me a surprise for Friday, but they had to go ahead and tell me. So they're taking me on a little road trip. They have this beautiful big van, travel van. We love to get in there. I just love to go on little road trips with them, whether we have a destination or not, we can just drive. But anyway, our football team here is going to state finals, or the state finals before the finals, and my grandson Spencer and Cam are going to the ball game, and my daughters and I are going to just go drive around and eat lunch and go, you know, just anyway, and watch TV, you know, Christmas shows on the TV in the van, and just have a fun day. Now, that is not any great big thing, but it's huge for me. It's huge for me. And then for my daughters to plan it, because it's kind of gotten into a routine that every birthday my daughters the last few years have planned a little road trip for me. And we do some of the most fun things. So something to look forward to. Find something in this world that you could find to look forward to. Get creative of what you can do to look forward to. I've given you some ideas of what I enjoy doing. And, you know, when the movies open up, you know, my kids, Cam, all of us will go. I mean, they'll, on the spur of the moment, they'll call, Mom, get ready. We're all going to a movie. It might be Saturday afternoon. You know, it's spur of the moment. Be spontaneous. Find fun things to do. So, all right. So the secret of happiness boils down to one thing. It's about getting out of ourselves. Getting out of ourselves. You know, addicts of any kind, during the disease, now as we recover, we get better about this, but addicts are self-centered people. You know, particularly when we're in the disease. And we can slip back into that about any time, because it's, particularly when we're in the disease, we think it's all about us, self-centeredness. And codependence, we look so all suffering and all giving, but codependency is about doing for others so we will feel good. And what is that? More self-centeredness. So, what, and codependence, want to get their needs met through other people. So, I'll end with this to remember that a person all wrapped up in themselves make a poor package. A person all wrapped up in themselves make a poor package. So if you want to give yourself an early Christmas gift, untie those ribbons of that package that you've got yourself all wrapped up in, and, get out of yourself for a while. And now, I'm not saying don't take care of yourself. That's something that God wants us to do. That is, if we don't take care of ourselves, we don't have anything to give anyone else. But if you really want to be happy, find, love God, yourselves, and others. Find someone to love. And, pets work real well. My children, and I'm a pet lover as long as they're out there somewhere and I don't have to take care of them. My daughter Kim is the cat lady. She loves her cats and they love her. They love her. And so, cats, animals really give love. So, it doesn't always have to be a person. And by the way, if you are single, whether you're a man or a woman, and if you think that your life is going to be complete, if you find that true love, and if you can't live without a man or a woman, you'll never find him or her. Because until we can love ourselves and stand tall, autonomous with the God of our understanding, and can take care of ourselves in every area, we can't stand with another person. We're going to go in that relationship to get something, and then we're going to be disappointed, and they will too. Because sickness seeks its own level. Sick people do not want to be, healthy people do not want to be with sick people. So be careful of, if you're not in a relationship, please don't get into one till you get healthy enough to love yourself first. God, yourself, and then others. So with that, remember, a person all wrapped up in themselves make a poor package. So let me hear from you. What do you do for happiness? Are you happy? What's keeping you from being happy? What is the roadblock to happiness? Talk about, because if you really want to be happy, it's a state of mind. You can, in the worst of times, you can find something to be thankful, grateful for, and to be happy. So let's open it up. Who would like to start?